Good morning, everyone. I guess it's afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I want to welcome our council members. We have several here. And Councilmember Ellinger, I'm going to say your names, and if I miss you, raise your hand. Councilmember Reynolds, Councilmember Sheehan, Councilmember Legree, Councilmember Plomin, Councilmember Kloiber, Councilmember Maloney, Councilmember Baxter, Councilmember Susan Lamb. Do we have other council members? Councilmember James Brown. All right. Thank you all very much for being here. And I also want to recognize Sheriff Kathy Witt, who's back there someplace. And we're very pleased to have Reverend Richard Gaines with us, Reverend Clark Williams with us, Pastor Mario Radford, and I hope this is a big crowd. Have I missed any of our faith community? All right, thank you all very much for being here. I am here today with Devine Carama, our Director of One Lexington, and community partners to update you on the program. Larry Johnson, also a member of the One Lexington staff, is also with us today. Devine is going to introduce folks as we move along, so I'm going to open with a few thoughts. And look at this beautiful team. I know there are more out there who couldn't make it today, but thank you all so very much. One Lexington and its community partners have reached out to thousands of young people over the past year, offering support, mentoring, mediation, protection, and more. Since last June, One Lexington has reached out to over 3,000 youth and young adults, facilitated 15 juvenile mediations where violence had occurred, and served 24 families affected by gun violence. And when we talk about youth and families, I want to recognize Chris Schaefer, who's the head of security for Fayette County Public Schools. Thank you, Chief. At the same time, our homicides have been leveling off, and our violent crime is gradually improving. The rate of shootings has slowed, and gun-related homicides, let me say that again, gun-related homicides are down to 7 from 14 at this point last year, a 50% decrease. We're hopeful, and we try not to get too excited, right? Because your work is so hard, but we are so hopeful to see this continue. One Lexington is one of many factors contributing to the improvement in our crime statistics. Crime statistics get the headlines, right? But I think it's just as, or even more important, that One Lexington is helping our young people. We're beginning to have a real impact. The work of One Lexington is best described in a quote from the late Archbishop Desmond Tutu. Now think about this. We need to stop pulling people out of the river and go upstream and find out why they're falling in, right? Today, Devine, who will complete his first year as One Lexington Director in June, has invited several partners to be here. They have been working with us upstream. You'll hear from several of them in just a minute. One Lexington has partnered with over 40 local agencies and organizations, including Fayette County Public Schools, Lexington Rescue Mission, Urban Impact, MAID, University of Kentucky Trauma Center, and YMCA Black Achievers of the Central Kentucky. In addition, Devine Carama has recruited 100 black men to be part of the One Lexington team, 100. As you can see, Devine and his volunteers have been super busy. And Devine is going to tell us more about his first year with One Lexington. Devine, welcome.
First, if it's okay, if we could just take a brief moment of silence for all of those that we've lost to gun violence and all the families that's been impacted. Thank you. I got my mom up here. Besides being a mama's boy, I wanted her to be up here because today is the 4-year anniversary of my father passing. And so he worked a lot and was a great partner with the city. He was the risk management director at Lexington for many, many years. And so a lot of you may have knew him, Ben Spalding. 2 weeks ago, we celebrated the 2-year anniversary of the passing of my daughter, Carama. And so I really got a different take on supporting our victims and their loved ones. And so all the victims of gun violence and their families are heavy on my heart today. Why are we here? Well, one of my friends that works in Frankfurt hit my jack and he said, "Yo, Devine, what's going on in Lexington? I'm hearing that the homicide numbers are crazy. I'm hearing that it's worse than some other cities in Kentucky." He said, "Man, what is going on down there?" And I remember I hit Larry up like, "What is he talking about?" And Larry said, I don't know. Let's just keep working. And so then obviously later on today, we'll have a more detailed and layered presentation to council upstairs on the work that not just One Lexington is doing, but the city. But what is the city doing in regards to gun violence? And that was actually put into committee by a council member who talked about how people in her district didn't know what the city was doing in regards to gun violence. And so I looked at Larry again. I'm like, bruh, we working hard. But one thing about being frontline, 10 toes down in the fight, like myself and all of these people up here and several people out there, is sometimes you're so focused on the work that you don't have a lot of time to talk about it. And that is something that I got to get better at and we got to get better at in One Lexington. Make sure that ain't me. That's you? It's not? Okay. Thanks, Mom. Thank you. But I felt I don't even work a 9 to 5. I feel like it's a 24/7 job. I see the community partners working so hard, all the different city agencies working so hard. I see the police department working so hard, from studying, from evidence-based work to looking at the uniqueness of Lexington to trying to be innovative because we understand the impact of the pandemic. And it just felt like a gut punch that people didn't know what these individuals are working on each and every day. And so me and Larry got together and said, I think it's time that we address the community on the great work that we've been doing with our community partners. And so that is why we're here today, okay? And I also know that we are in a political season. And so things are popping up on social media, things popping up on TV, that are just not true, and I think devalue the good work that these people are doing each and every day. And so again, I'm here today to set the record straight on the work that we are doing, but then also understanding that we got a lot more work to do because the warm weather is coming. What is the city doing? What is One Lexington doing? Y'all think I'm just making rap songs every day? No, I'm working with these wonderful people each and every day. When I first took the job, I'll never forget this. The mayor came to me and she said, Devine, feel free to take a few months, learn the lay of the land. I know you've never worked in government before. The previous director took some time and slowly worked their way in. But I believe the week that I started, 4 juveniles were shot that week. And I remember looking at the mayor and saying, I promised to study, I promised to learn the lay of the land, but with all due respect, can I go ahead and get to work? And she allowed me to do that, and I appreciate that. And within just a couple of weeks, we started some programming. But me and Tyler, we really did a lot of studying and research early on when I first joined in One Lexington. Obviously, there's some evidence-based stuff out there, right? So we reached out to 30 different cities who were comparable to Lexington in size, demographic, and we said, what are you all doing? What trends are you seeing? What things have you done that have worked? And we pulled from those cities things that were working. But then we also understood that this can't be a one-size-fits-all, right? That Lexington is very unique and different and has its own challenges. And so then we also said, let's study the city, let's pull some stakeholders in, and let's figure out what will work uniquely to Lexington. But then also, we had to be innovative. We're seeing violent crime spike all over the country, not just in Lexington, especially the gun-related homicides. And we feel like we know why. We feel like it has to do with the social unrest and the pandemic of 2020, but it's going to be 5 to 10 years before we get that hard data back, right? But we're smart enough, we're in tuned enough to know that that has an impact. So how can we incorporate things other agencies were doing to support people through the pandemic and the social unrest? And we pulled all of that together, and we have built what I believe is a pretty solid, comprehensive plan. But we're also open into adjusting and continuing to perfect that. So I'm not going to take too much time, but I just want to give you the model that we're working through, which is a national model. And then I want to bring some other speakers up so they can tell you about their partnership with us. And so the model that we've been working through is the PEER model, and that is prevention, intervention, enforcement, and reentry. And so if it's cool, I'm going to do the PEER model in reverse because I want to end with our speakers who are a large part of the preventative work that we're doing. And so I'll start with the R. Reentry is something that we really want to pick up this year and next year. When I first took over the job, the jails weren't quite open to community partners yet because we were still kind of in the pandemic. But those are partnerships that we want to increase now that we're hopefully coming out of the pandemic. Also, one of the first meetings I had was with Judge Thurston and Judge Melissa Murphy, excuse me. How can we be a partner to you to help young people, not just youth, but young adults coming in and out of the system? And so we got that partnership going really early. We created a database for Kiwi Figs, who is their treatment program coordinator, that she could pull from because she is there to provide this alternative programming for youth coming in and out of the system. The data says that we cannot incarcerate our way to a safe community, right? But at the same token, we got to have checks and balances and accountability for these young people coming in and out of the system. And that is a great partnership opportunity for One Lexington and the court system. And so that's pretty much the extent of our reentry work now, but again, we hope to ramp that up. As far as enforcement, obviously, our great police department handles that. We don't have any enforcement capabilities, but one thing I've learned in my 10 months with being here is even though we don't work exactly hand in hand with our Lexington Police Department, we have a great working relationship. Their work makes our work better, and I would hope that our work makes their work better and easier. You'd be surprised how many times I get a call from chief or a resource officer saying, hey, Devine, we got a couple juveniles in this area that's been involved in this, that, and the third. Can you plug them in with some mentors, get your street outreach workers out there, see what you can do? They could have went in heavy-handed, but they reached out to One Lexington first. And because of that relationship that we have with the police department, it enables us to do some true grassroots, down to the foundation work with not just those individuals, but their families too. And that's important, right? One thing I learned a long time ago working with young people is that you can't serve young people without wrapping your arms around the entire family. Because we can take them out the Sky Zone, we can take them to a conflict resolution workshop, but then a lot of them are gonna go right back into situations that lead them back into that cycle. So how can we minister to the entire family? And so we've really been trying to find creative ways to do that. And so as far as enforcement, just maintaining that good relationship with law enforcement. And that takes us to intervention. And intervention, I'm finding, and I'm more of a preventative person. My life's work has been, how do we get to these young people before the gunshot, before they're in a conflict? How do we reach them before? But then obviously taking this job, intervention has been a big part, and that's where some of the evidence-based research that Tyler, myself, and Larry were doing early in the process comes into play. One thing that stands out to me, and I think we got two individuals here from the UK Trauma Center, is the hospital-based violence intervention program, and you can Google that, but a lot of cities that have seen some improvements in gun violence operate with this hospital-based violence intervention program. So what is that, right? It's not doctors out doing street outreach work, but what it is when gunshot victims come into the trauma unit, they have a social worker that reaches out to them, and they play an active part in trying to connect those gunshot victims to resources that could help them. And I've never been shot. I've had friends that have been shot, and they talk about the early stages of suffering a gunshot, what it does to you spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And they say that the chance to reach them is in those early moments, right? And so these social workers in the trauma center are reaching out to these victims and their family, connecting them with One Lexington, and then that's where we try to provide them resources, whether it be mentoring, street outreach, maybe stopping a retaliatory incident. And I believe their lives have been saved because of the great work that they're doing at the University of Kentucky, because this is something that they don't have to do. This is not in their mandate. But when they see those victims coming in continuously, they felt, hey, we got to do something. And so they've been a great partner. A partner, and this is a good opportunity to shout them out. Tyler told me not to shout too many people out because I forget somebody. But in this regard, I think it's important. We have officially, thanks to the mayor's proposal and for the ARPA funding, we are actually transitioning Safety Net, which is our hospital-based violence intervention program, to the Lexington Rescue Mission. And that is the model that One Lexington should be playing. We have relied on them heavily when we needed resources to get to the victims of gunshots and their family. Now they are taking this program, and it's probably going to be 10 times better now that they have it. Because to be honest, whether it's gun violence, whether it is gentrification, whether it is racism, systemic racism, the only way you're truly going to heal that is if the people within those communities rise up. Our job is to support them. And now we have a community organization that's going to take Safety Net over, and One Lexington will continue to support them, but I believe it's going to help even more people now that it's out of the hands of the government. And so we're super excited about that. That's been a very, very impactful program since I've been here. Another thing that we do, again, something else that we got from other cities that's been doing this work, is our violence intervention meeting. And that is every Wednesday we meet up with a bunch of community members, people from the police department, Fayette County Public Schools, victim advocacy, people from the county attorney's office, and we all meet every Wednesday and we discuss the violent incidences the week before. And what that enables us to do, remember, very short window, especially when you're talking about personal conflicts. And what we've learned, which I know I'm a little bit all over the place, but what we're learning, we're seeing a spike in domestic violence and the impact that it's having on gun violence. Chief has been talking about this for 2 or 3 years now, personal conflict, right? And so a lot of times we have 24 to 48 hours to get to those individuals. And if we don't, then a retaliatory incident can happen. So usually when somebody gets shot, or this is how it was the first few weeks, I'm making like 50 phone calls. Like, bro, I got a family that needs this, and all right, hold on, somebody's beeping in. I beep over and they already hung up, and now I'm like, and by that time, you're talking 4 or 5 days before I'm pulling these resources together to help these families, where now we have cut that to like 24 hours, sometimes same day. Because in these meetings, we can say, hey, this family's house has been shot up 4 or 5 times. Can anybody on the call help them get temporary housing? Sure, we can. And then somebody else on the call, maybe public advocates working with the police department, Lexington Rescue Mission, says, hey, we also got to connect with some long-term housing. Okay, let's get to work on that. Somebody else may say, hey, I have some mental health resources that I can deploy to that family if they need it. Oh, they did mention that they need that. And so that meeting, and sometimes we don't have any cases to discuss, and I think those are our favorite days when we don't have anything to talk about, but we still meet and we follow up with cases in the previous weeks. And so that's just some of the intervention stuff that we do. Again, there's a lot more. And so I want to close out with the P. Again, we're working backwards. Our peer model is prevention, intervention, enforcement, reentry. We've been kind of working backwards because I got some great speakers. But I want to talk a little bit about the work that we do as far as prevention. A couple of months ago, we met here and we had a big press conference about a scholarship that we offered to 2 Bryan Station students of color. And that was through our Be the Change scholarship competition. And that was for Bryan Station students of color that were pursuing a criminal justice degree. As somebody that was right out there marching in the streets in 2020, Commander Maynard would be hit my phone, Chief Maynard hit my phone like, Devine, I know you're out there protesting, be careful. Same with Chief, right? I was right there with the people protesting. I also understood, because of the way I was raised by my mother, that you can protest and complain all you want, but what are you gonna do to be a part of the change? Go out there and protest, but you better be doing something to be a part of the change. And that is what we are trying to instill in our young people. And so we created, along with Galls, who had the initial idea, the Be the Change scholarship competition, which again rewards students who are going into the field to combat the very thing that we are trying to fight right now, which is keeping communities safe. And so one was a $20,000 renewable scholarship. Like, that's a game changer. She sat here and cried at the podium and said, I would not have been able to go to college without this. And then we were able to give another student a scholarship as well, because Central Bank joined us and they made a donation. And so again, you're talking about changing an entire family, but then also inspiring them to be a part of the change. But I done talked enough. My mouth's all dry. You ready, brother? Hold on, let me get you. I gotta do an introduction, hold on. When I first joined, one of the first things that Mayor enabled me to do was we launched our It Takes a Village summer program. And again, it was literally a few weeks of me being into the job. And what it was a group of students. I think we ended up serving 30 a week. And we did it for 6 weeks. And we did everything from conflict resolution with these students to money management, to career and college readiness. We did computer coding. Somehow they built a video game. I don't know how, but they did that at UK. But then we also just loved on them. We took them to Sky Zone. We took them to Malibu Jacks. They had me zip lining. And I don't even like heights. All of these young people were on free and reduced lunch and otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to experience some of these things. And one of the many brothers that we were able to connect with through our 100 Black Men initiative was Terry Dunford. And Terry Dunford is the founder of the Voyage movement. And he focuses primarily out of Paris, but he does work here too. And he focuses a lot on reentry work. Formerly incarcerated and has been out and is doing some amazing things in the community. And he's somebody that I've relied on. So I would like to bring Terry up to talk a little bit about the importance of all of us coming together.
Good afternoon. How is everybody doing? Like the brother Devine said, my name is Terry Dunford. I am the founder of the Voyage movement. And let's just give Devine another round of applause, please, just for everything he's doing. Mayor Gorton. I think, when we talk about it takes a village, our ancestors left breadcrumbs for us to pick up. And that was one of the most important things that they left, because it's going to take a village. All of us in here are part of that village, right, to raise one child. So when we move in that spirit, we letting parents know, whether you're a single mother, two-parent home, a great-grandmother or grandmother who are raising these children, that you got to find your village. And if you look around and you can't find that village, then One Lexington has to be that village that you lean on. You know, that's why it's important for us to come together and unite as one. You know what I mean? And when I look out and I see a lot of people that we would consider people in power here, and they are listening to the voice of the people, this is letting me know that we get it, because we have to unite as well. Like, there's so many different facets that they spoke on that we have to address, but the thing that we're working on right now, and I'm like this, brother, I'm all big cottonmouth, but I think it's very important that we just continue the course. Like, One Lexington has laid a beautiful foundation for everybody to build on. So all I want to say is that, and encourage everyone to just continue to do their part. Continue to just find your role. If I apologize, but there's just so much that needs to be said, so much that needs to be done, and I think Devine really wrapped it all up. But as long as we can continue to look at unconventional ways and unconventional methods to solve these problems, I think that we'll be able to find, you know, the right solution. So with that, I'll end, all right?
Terry was being super humble. He has come out and talked to our kids about entrepreneurship, about community service, about taking ownership within your community and rising up. He's been in multiple schools, which is something I'm going to pivot to next. And so he's been a great community partner and just one example of the many people that we lean on to do this work. And so next I want to bring up, or before I bring up this gentleman next, when the summer ended, all the kids were like, all right, Mr. Devine, what we gonna do now? You know what I'm saying? We've been having fun, especially we just went to Kentucky Kingdom. So they, what's up? You know, and I'm like, well, school's starting. And so we decided to transition It Takes a Village summer program into a in-school mentoring program, still weekly. And I think now we are at 8 different schools in Fayette County Public Schools. Matter of fact, that's why I was late today. I was in the garage trying to get changed. I had 3 mentoring groups this morning, and this is actually our last week. And so continuing with that same model, supporting Fayette County Public Schools and really talking about things that students don't have time or the freedom to talk about in the classroom, right? I never forget this story, and this is what really motivated me to do the in-school mentoring program. I never forget the story of a teacher at a school that I was a paraeducator at years ago. And I remember a teacher coming to me and say, Mr. Devine, I cannot get this student to raise his head up. He's got his hoodie on. He just won't raise up. I can't get him to do anything. I'm about to send him to SAFE. I'm tired of it. I wish they would just suspend him. And so I said, okay, well, send him to me and I'll talk to him. And so he came to me and I said, what's going on, man? Why you got your head down in class? And he said, I'm hungry. He said, it's been over, since school. Yesterday's the last time that I ate. And it wasn't an indictment on that teacher, but with the way the structures are set up sometimes, some of these teachers are so locked in on trying to teach these kids that sometimes we forget about the fundamentals and the basics, right? And that was many years ago, and a lot of our teachers do a great job with that now. But it charged me up and said, right, we got these teachers that are working hard, working day and night to support these students. How can the community step up to support them? And so that's where our in-school mentoring program starts. And that is where a lot, the mayor had mentioned we had 15 mediations. Most of our mediations came from already being in the building at our in-school mentoring programs. And so the next person I want to bring up, I actually played baseball with him growing up. And so he was all right. He's pretty good. But now he's the principal at Southern Middle School, which is the middle school that I attended. So you talk about full circle. But next up to talk to you all a little bit about the impact of the partnership between us and Southern is Kevin Payne.
As he said, my name's Kevin Payne. I'm the principal at Southern Middle School here in Fayette County. I want to thank Devine for taking half my speech. I was going to talk about playing baseball against him and him being an alumni of Southern Middle and all that good stuff. But Devine and I do go way back, and we have the same mentality of affecting our community positively. And we've worked with Devine in previous years to keep the cold away. He has spoken to our different grade levels throughout the years, and every time he comes or every time we partner with him, it's a huge impact. So when our resource coordinator, Holly Morrow, came to me and said, Devine wants to do a mentoring group for the boys here at Southern Middle School, are you interested? I said, when can he start? Because these boys needed a role model. They needed that consistency. And we've seen a huge impact from them. So he just left, as he said, he was at Southern Middle School this morning meeting with our boys, and it's something they look forward to every Tuesday. We have seen a 75% increase in academics from that group. We've seen a 50% decrease. I just got the numbers sent to me this weekend. We've seen a 52% decrease in discipline referrals. So a 75% increase in academics and a 52% decrease in discipline referrals. They just need somebody to talk to. There's always a reason behind the behavior. There's always a reason why a child is having their hoodie on, or they come to school angry, or they don't want to go to class. And Devine has a special gift of finding that reason and attacking that reason and helping with that reason. So we are looking forward to expanding the It Takes a Village mentoring program into, be able to hit more kids and be able to touch more lives and families. But just in the short time that he has been working with us, data doesn't lie. When you're in education, it's all about data, right? Data and relationships. We talk about, greeting them, not getting them, coaching them, not catching them. And Devine has that mentality, and we're just very excited to continue that next year and several years to come. So thank you, Devine, for partnering with Southern Middle. You're making a big impact.
And so just keeping it moving, I know we're kind of pressed for time, and it's a super busy day. I do want to give a quick shout out to Chief Schaefer. You're supposed to be up here with us, bruh. You tried to slick off in the back. Also Chief Weathers as well, Sheriff Kathy Witt. I had this big speech prepared to talk about the importance of supporting victims, but I think I'm going to save that portion for our lengthier presentation upstairs a little bit later, because that is another learning curve that I've had. I know people don't believe me when I say it, because when I get up here, I'm on, but I'm very socially awkward. I handle trauma very differently, and I don't do well being around other people who have experienced high-level trauma. I struggled with that, and so taking this job has forced me to get better at that, and I'm learning. There's a lot of community partners that are helping me with that. And so the work that Sheriff Witt does is great, Tanya Lindsay and many others. And so that's a huge part of gun violence reduction. You wouldn't think it is, but it really, really is. And so I definitely wanted to shout them out. For our last speaker of the day, and he's got a guest with him, I'm going to allow him to introduce him. You ain't nervous, are you? He said, nah, man. All right. This was one of the first, actually the first school that reached out to One Lexington and said, we want you in the building. And so we've actually been partnering with them over 24 weeks since the beginning of the school year, every single week. We've had a consistent group of boys that have come from this school. They've opened their arms to us. Actually, One Lexington will be doing a 1-week workshop specifically for students that attend this school. And so I'm going to bring up Brandon Wilburn, who is the Dean of Students at Winburn Middle School.
Hello, everyone. Like Devine said, my name is Brandon Wilburn, and I'm the admin dean at Winburn Middle School. Just like Southern, we also have benefited from the One Lex program. It takes a village. I could stand up here all day and tell you about all the good things that are going on, but I thought it would be best if I brought one of our 7th grade students that has been involved in the program for about 24 weeks. He wanted to share his experience, so I'm going to let Jamarlin Griffin come up and give you his experience with One Lex.
Hey, how y'all doing? This is something I wanted to share with y'all. The Devine Carama Boys Mentor Group taught me a lot about my ancestors. It also taught me about my community. I learned about the struggle of my ancestors and how they were born into slavery. I am now the person I am today because I know that it's beneficial to not participate in violence and gossip. In this group, I learned some techniques that help me think more positively and make good decisions. One of the techniques I've learned was to not take the negativity of others so personally, because what I think about myself and know to be true matters more. I enjoy this group, and I think it's important for more teenagers like me to be in this group. Thanks for letting me talk to you today.
So, that choked me up a little bit. There's a lot more community partners that we work with, and obviously they all couldn't be here. There's a lot more work that we're doing through One Lexington that we'll share a little bit later at 3 o'clock upstairs. But then also there's a lot more that the city is doing. So we're going to hear from about some other agencies. Social Services is doing great work. Parks and Rec is about to launch a new summer program. There's just so many things that the city is doing, and I think we just got to do a better job of communicating that with the public, and we'll definitely do that. I want to close this out to challenge the community, though. I want to challenge the faith community. I want to challenge the social justice warriors out there. I want to challenge all of the brothers who have been disenfranchised from things like this and let you know that brothers and sisters, that I love you and that we cannot minister to these young people without your help. And we are calling this all hearts on deck, because to be honest, the numbers are great. That's great. We're seeing some progress. But I've been in this work too long, and I'm not going to celebrate that, because I also know that in 2021, that half of our homicides happened between the months of April and September. So those months are coming. We're in it right now. And even though we're seeing progress, there's a lot of work to be done. And we need everybody to step up. This needs to be the cause that everybody gets behind. And as Terry mentioned, there's a role for everybody to play. And me and Terry will help you figure out what role you can play, because we need you. One Lexington is not the name of a program. I tell people that it is literally what this is. One Lexington, all of us together. I don't care about politics. I'm be honest with you, I don't. I don't care about in crowds. I don't care what faith, religion I don't care about none of that. All I care about is keeping our community safe and seeing it rise, creating an environment that our young people can inherit and we can go to the next level. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we put our differences aside and we come together. I'm willing to work with anybody that is about these kids. So appreciate you all. Thanks to all the council members, all the faith leaders, my friends and family. Thank you all for coming out. We'll do a better job with talking about the things that we're doing. We do have a bi-weekly newsletter that we send out, so if you want to get plugged into that, just shoot me an email and we'll put you in the list. And if you'll be around, join us upstairs at 3, and we'll go a little bit deeper into all of the work that we're doing, but then also our community partners, all right? Peace and love. My bad. No, man, I ain't do you like that. My bad. I just tried to end the press conference. Y'all welcome the mayor back up. Yeah, no, it's okay. I'm sorry. My bad.
You know, I have nothing else to say, really. Devine, and first of all, I thank you so much for your leadership, Devine and Larry, and all of these fabulous team members who represent others who are with you in this effort and this work. Thank you all again.